In Ruku we say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, and Al-Azim refers to a greatness of Allah Almighty, the awe of which is experienced up close. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah explained that when we hear about the greatness of something, or when we see it from a distance, then we are aware of how great it is, how azim it is, but we don't really feel it until we come up close to it. Huzur gave the analogy of a mountain or a skyscraper, that we might know all of its proportions, we may have seen pictures of it, we may even see it from a distance, but these are all things that inspire our mind. It registers as a beauty within our mind. But there is a very different experience when we go and stand at the foot of that same skyscraper and look up, because there is a feeling of awe of how great and how large it actually is. The same thing applies with standing at the foot of a mountain. It's a different experience. So this is an analogy that Huzur used to describe what is distinct about Al-Azim. It is a greatness that is appreciated from up close. Now, when we are reciting the attributes of Allah Almighty in Surah Al-Fatiha, in Qiyam, then there is a greatness of those attributes that we observe from a distance, and a very different greatness and azmat, that we observe from up close. For example, there's Maliki Yawmiddin, we recite that in Surah Al-Fatiha. We can observe it safely from a distance, without really feeling its azmat. We can think about how the day of judgment will happen, how Allah Almighty will judge people. People will stand before Him and then they will be told their fate. All of their actions will be shown to them. The manifestation of that glory is something that we can see from a distance. It only exists within our mind so long as we think about it like that. But now imagine that we ourselves are standing in front of Allah Almighty on the day of judgment. All of our actions are in front of us. There's nowhere that we can run, and nobody can help us. We are completely at the mercy of our Creator. And we will now be judged for all of our actions, and our fate will be decided. When we see Maliki Yawmiddin from that up close, then it moves from our mind to our heart. The experience becomes one that is in awe, that is experienced within our heart. So that is what Azim is, Azmat. That is the Azmat of the attribute of Maliki Yawmiddin. In one place, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah mentioned that Al-Azim is a unique attribute of Allah Almighty because it can be paired with every other attribute of Allah Almighty. We can't do this with any other attribute. We can say that, for example, Allah Almighty is the Azim Rahman, or the Azim Ghafur, or the Azim Muntaqim, or the Azim Zahir. The other attributes, we can't say that any two other attributes can be paired like this. So Azim Maliki Yawmiddin, the Azmat of Maliki Yawmiddin is when we see it from up close and that unique experience of awe that is felt within the heart. This is what moves us to action, and this is what Azmat is. So Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah went on to explain that we have come very close to Allah Almighty, so close that we have bowed down to Him and have accepted obedience of Him. A distant God is not enough to inspire obedience. True obedience of God can only happen when His Azmat, His greatness is felt, and Azmat requires nearness. Thus, Ruku has completed this subject. Ruku is a state of obedience. Ruku, Huzur explained, is a symbol of obedience. And also Huzur explained, for example, coming back to the example of Maliki Yawmiddin, is that when we observe Maliki Yawmiddin from a safe distance, then as a concept we know that we'll be accountable for our actions, but it may not be enough to move us to action. We may not think that, okay, right now I have to change my actions to be like one who knows that he is accountable. But when we envision ourselves standing before Allah Almighty, and the awe-inspiring presence of Maliki Yawmiddin is felt within our heart, when the experience moves from our mind to now being experienced by our heart as well, that moves us to action. Now a person cannot help but change his behavior and his actions towards obedience of Allah Almighty. Now he acts like one who knows that he will have to give account for all of his actions. So reflecting on Maliki Yawmiddin from a distance does not move us to action, but Al-Azim is connected with Ruku. And when we think, again with the example of Maliki Yawmiddin, when we think about the Azmat of Maliki Yawmiddin, that moves us and always and has to move us towards action, towards the action of obedience. So Ruku is a symbol of obedience, and Azmat is something that moves our heart towards action and obedience. And so the attribute of Al-Azim and the posture of Ruku are connected in this way.